Well, back to the crisis in Zimbabwe now, and the scale of that cholera outbreaks forced the regime to seek help from outside. The disease is a global problem, most prevalent in much of Asia, Africa and South America. The economic crisis in Zimbabwe has seen its medical and water treatment systems reach breaking point. When cholera hits, it hits hard. More than 575 people have died already, with the number infected now thought to be well over 12,500. Humans catch the disease through water or food contaminated with the bacteria. The symptoms come on quickly, sometimes within the hour. Fluid loss quickly leads to dehydration, followed by nausea. If treated quickly with rehydration tablets and antibiotics, most people survive. But the lack of decent medical care in Zimbabwe means people are dying within days now, sometimes even hours. So could this cholera outbreak be the straw that finally breaks the back of the Mugabe regime? Sky's Ian Woods takes a look.
Words of condemnation have bounced harmlessly off Robert Mugabe's thick skin for many years. Why should this latest crisis in Zimbabwe be any different? When Britain tries to drum up an international response, Mugabe dismisses it as merely grumbling from the old empire.
Mugabe thrives on this condemnation because all he does is he turns it around, makes it colonial, historical and racial. But this is the time to say what kind of action should be taken. It's no use just criticizing and condemning Mugabe. That is not going to remove him.
African diplomacy seemed to have brokered a breakthrough when opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai shook hands with Mugabe on a deal to share power. But 3 months later, arguments over the details remain unresolved. The stalemate has bought Mugabe time, and some of the pressure from Mugabe's neighbours has switched to forcing Tsvangirai to compromise instead. But the cholera outbreak brings Zimbabwe's troubles closer to home, with sick refugees crossing the southern and northern borders in search of treatment and risking the spread of the disease.
I think as the cholera epidemic moves beyond Zimbabwe into neighbouring countries, it'll become more obvious to other African countries that he's not only inflicting suffering on his people, he is now inflicting illness, sickness, disease on others too.
Kenya's President Odinga is one of the few advocating military intervention by African countries, while Botswana's foreign minister says a fuel blockade could force Mugabe from power within a fortnight because his military machine would grind to a halt.
There's very little petrol in Zimbabwe anyway, and the only people who are driving around and kidnapping people are the army and the police. So if you were to starve the Zimbabwe government of fuel, that would bring the reign of terror to a halt. It would actually save lives.
There is another change on the political horizon which may just nudge Zimbabwe up the global priority list. Will the son of an African take a greater interest in the continent when he moves to the White House? Africans celebrated his election, but will President Obama be too preoccupied with other crises to focus on what to do about Robert Mugabe?
We can never say enough is enough.
Ian Woods, Sky News.